But we wanted to start it off with something good because I know how passionate a lot of people are about the Harry Potter world in media, in all forms of media. Because it's not only just movies and books, but now it's like a play as well. But we're going to talk about those things and the writer and
Mm-hmm.
everything up to that. uh, but first, I should preface this by saying Ricey, have only seen the movies. I've read the books up to book three. However, it was just so boring and it couldn't capture my attention. And then I stopped in the middle of book three. Abby, what about you?
Read all of the books several times, actually. It has been a while since I've read them, but I have read all of the books at least 3 times. Because I am one of those book weirdos where it's like, I'll get the new book, I'll read the new book, I'll probably read the new book again, reread the entire series, thus rereading that book another time. So,
So
I
you're a
I have read the
fan.
books. I'm a hardcore book person. I really am. But I have not seen the last 3 Harry Potter movies for various reasons. Namely because my heart could not handle several of the deaths in uh Harry Potter 7 part 1 and 2 and a
Yeah.
specific death in movie 6.
You know, I
Um
go ahead.
no, you go ahead.
I was about to say, I don't think you've ever told me that you never finished the last three. Or maybe you did and I just forgot. Because
I think
those
you just that
yeah, because
honestly because
those were really intense for sure. And I remember
yes.
it. And it was so hard to watch because I've never seen um was it chapter or book 7, 1 and 2, because they divided that one into two parts. I never seen it
Yes.
after like one time, both parts after one time, because it was just so sad and intense and just there was so much going on. Ugh. So I can understand why you wouldn't watch it, but it's good. That shit's good. Good shit.
Um, but before we get too deep into this, we should go ahead and admit spoilers.
Yeah,
Very,
we.
very heavy spoilers.
It's in the title.
Um, yeah. Um, so what do you want to start with? Do you want to start with the books? Do you want to start with the movies? Do you
Well,
want to start with our history with
I was about
it?
to say it's
What
easier to start with the history of it because for me, I can't really talk about the books, but we can like compare mine to yours. Um, but I would say the history is the best way to go because I'll tell you my history after yours because you've literally grew up with those books. Mine is a little different. So, but you go ahead.
this is from what I can remember because the Harry Potter books came out when I was in elementary school, and I remember like my mom reading it to us. We would listen to the audiobooks when we were driving, because if we were traveling at night, then it would just be easier to listen to the like recording. Um, I remember my cousin on my dad's side, who is 11 years older than me, being really into the books. So he would have been in like late high school or very early college when he got into it. Um, and like I remember my third grade teacher reading it to us, and she was, especially the first book, I think maybe the second book. I don't really remember. And she was a pastor's wife and had no problem reading it. And
Hmm.
me and Ricey, we're from the Bible Belt. We are from
Oh
like
yeah,
the deep south.
Deep South.
So I had a teacher in third grade, who was a pastor's wife, had no problem reading it to us. I do remember I would have to look up the dates of everything. I do remember my fifth grade teacher, though, adamantly not wanting to read the books to us, um, like at all, because it was
Mm.
witchcraft and
Yeah.
demonic and all this stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I remember uh winning something at a fair or a carnival or something, and like because I gave it up to like my sister or to someone else, my dad took me to Walmart and picked up like Harry Potter book 6. And it was like a first edition. It's like it had released like 2 days before or something. Um so my dad's like, since you were so considerate about it, like I'll get you this book. Um I remember in high school, I think I've never told you this, and I think you'll really, really find it
Yeah.
funny.
Okay. I'm
I
down.
remember I was in high school and Aragon the movie had come out. That awful, awful, awful movie, which
Aragon, the one with the dragon, the
Aragon,
blue dragon.
the blue dragon with fucking feathers. But again,
Yeah.
we'll save that for another thing because I could give an entire podcast about how awful they did that book.
Mm.
And it had come out on DVD, and I had gotten a copy of like a DVD with extended edition, and then just a regular DVD, um, for like my birthday or for Christmas. I think it was my birthday that I got a copy from like my parents, and then a copy from my aunt. Um, that was the DVDs. One of my best friends in high school, who we were like avid book readers, like we would haul ass on reading books. It's just like, oh, I've read that book. You really like it. It's like, oh, I haven't read that book. Is it good? It's like, yeah. You want to borrow it when I'm done? Yes. So we were like avid book readers. She, for her birthday, actually got 2 copies of Harry Potter Book 7. And so we
Wow.
did a trade for the Harry Potter book for my Aragon DVD. So that is how I got my
Dang.
Harry Potter book 7. Um and I remember like I avidly stayed up reading way past anything reasonable, reading Harry Potter book 6.
Right.
Um So I have literally grown up with the books. I have listened to the books. I have physically read the books myself. I have like I have cried my eyes out in book 7 every single time. Um but I remember the movies as well. Did you want to talk about your experience with the books first before we moved on to the movies?
No. Okay. So, okay. My experience with the books. Okay. Well, let me just say my history in general with Harry Potter.
Mhm.
That way we can segue into movies and such. So, a little tidbit about me: I am a pastor's kid, growing up in the Bible Belt. So, yeah, I was just like that. I also, in my elementary school years, have grown up without Harry Potter because it was considered witchcraft, and we do not do that in the school of the Lord and everything like that. Instead, I grew up reading and I hated reading. I absolutely hated reading in elementary school because we had to read shit like the classics, Picture of Dorian Gray, which was honestly just terrible for a kid, um,
Mm.
or like all these, what was it, books that I could not understand. I mean, I like it now as an adult, but for a kid, all you want to read is like imaginative things. We read, what was it, The Babysitter's Club and all of this stuff. And it just never captured me because I didn't realize this until I did find a book that was a fantasy thing. I loved fantasy and sci-fi. Like I really, really did. Um, and I never knew that the Harry Potter books were like a fantasy thing. So because growing up, if they're like, "Oh, this book is bad, you shouldn't read it," I'm like, "All right, this book is bad, I won't read it." Um, Instead, they had books like Nancy Drew, and I'm a big mystery lover, so I fucking love Nancy
Mhm.
Drew. Those were the only books I liked reading was Nancy Drew books. Um, it wasn't until my high school years when I finally left my private school to go to a public school that everyone, by this point have read the books, they've they were talking about it in school. I didn't understand what was going on because in my mind, I was like, but it's bad. It's witchcraft. I shouldn't read it, without separating like what witchcraft is in reality versus fantasy. You know what I mean? So when I was reading and I finally read like other fantasy books and sci-fi books and I could separate the fantasy from what, reality of witchcraft and stuff. I'm like, all right, I'll give it a try. I read the Harry Potter books because I remember one of my friends who was obsessed with Harry Potter. She's like, you need to read it. Just read one or two or whatever. And I was by this point like a junior or senior in high school. I was like, what do I have to lose? Might as well just read it. It was rough.
Mhm.
I liked the first book. I liked how they opened up the story and everything. I thought it was very interesting. The second book was all right, and the third book lost me completely, which was sad because I heard that the first three books are slow. They are slow because they're building up this world and these characters. And it's the fourth book that starts picking the ball up and just like yeeting it because that's where all
Mhm.
the action is, all of the fun. It was technically the tournament book, and I should have read that because I loved like tournament mangas at the time. I would have loved that shit, but I never
Oh,
finished.
you would.
Yeah, I would have loved it, but I never finished it.
Mm.
So yeah, so that was that for me. Um, And then by this point, I started watching the movies. I didn't watch it when it was in theaters. Nope, never watched it when it was in theaters. Instead, I watched it on ABC Family when they would do those Harry Potter marathons and stuff. And I, okay, so
I'm admittedly, you were exposed to the movies in general, but it's like I always dislike having a first experience of a movie from TV because they usually
they
cut
cut,
some of
they
the
do,
best stuff.
they do. And I knew that. I knew that going in. So I actually watched the movies first before reading the books. And it made it easier to read the books per se. But just like for me, the first movie was wonderful, because they put all their creativity in making this world. The second one was all right, but the third one kind of lost me a little bit. I've grown appreciation for the first three because of my, what is it? The comparison with the books that I've read. But I will also agree after the fourth movie and beyond was just fantastic. Really had a good time with that. Um, and now I can honestly say I do enjoy the movies. I do. I watched the last three in theaters. It was just so
Oh,
good. I really enjoyed them. I loved this world that was created. I was honestly just blown away by it. The only problem that I wish that they kind of dove in more was make it more 80s because it was supposed to be like what, late 80s, early
uh,
90s,
yes.
and they didn't do that. Like they didn't do that. And I'm just like that sucks cuz could you imagine incorporating a lot of like the 80s, and this isn't okay, this is based in the UK, in
Yeah.
England. Could you imagine just everything was like, I'm sorry, I'm just like super 80s because 80s punk bands were such a big deal back then. But they didn't use that. It sucks. I want to see them use that because it would have been amazing. Anyway.
I agree with you. Like that I didn't know this was supposed to be set in the 80s
Oh,
at
yeah.
all until like the 6th or 7th book. And I think it was the 7th book really when we end up going to uh end up passing by Harry's parents' graves.
Oh, yeah.
The graves of James and Lily Potter. and we had a date there. And I'm just like, hey, what? Because we
Mhm.
didn't really get dates that I recall at all through the entire books up until that point.
Yeah.
And that threw me for a loop because
Yeah.
it really didn't show it either in the movies because there were several movies by book 7.
I
I don't know. But speaking of movies, I have issues with the movies, but I can go into my histories with the movies first
yes.
since you've
Yes, 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 yes.
again, the Harry Potter movies were releasing when I was in elementary school. It was a big thing. I remember having a lot of fun with them. Um, I will admit, like, my family isn't rich, but we're not poor either. We're just broke. So my parents were very conservative about doing extravagant things like going to the movies unnecessarily.
Yes,
But
same.
what right. And it's understandable. Movies are really expensive. But it is I will splurge as an adult to go to the movies for an audience experience. But that's just but I guess that does lead into the point that I did know someone who like they were family friends. Like the mom worked with my mom. And me and my sister grew up with the two sons, so we were all really close. And what the mom would do was host Harry Potter parties
That sounds awesome.
on opening days of Harry Potter, and we would all dress up in robes and go to the Harry Potter premieres for at least the first 3 movies that I recall. I remember several of them. Like, she would make it a big deal. She would mail us out invitations with fancy calligraphy in it and um, a flying key sucker.
That sounds
Uh,
awesome.
until you taste the sucker, because that sucker was fucking awful, and we couldn't. We would not be allowed. We would not be admitted into the house until we ate the sucker. So by the
Right.
second time, I'm like, the second time she sent out the flying keys with suckers, I took a glass of water and just left the key in a glass of water to dissolve the sucker because it was awful. It was disgusting. Um, and she had cake, and it was like, I remember one year being like a Quidditch field with the goals and everything. um and then we'd have a party and things like that, and then we would be in robes and we would go to the movie premiere and watch it on the big screen. And I remember that being a thing. I'm pretty sure through the third movie.
Right.
I don't. I Things happened for her. She had to move, things like that. So by the fourth movie, it wasn't going to continue to be a thing. But I don't really remember after that if I ever saw any more of the movies on the big
So what turned you off? Just
screen.
because
I
just
really I may have seen the fourth one. Okay, so what turned me off is that in the first 2 movies, it was very whimsical and very
yes.
light. It was
That's
very,
because it was building the world
it
still.
was building the world and had this very soft tone. And then, and this specific Dumbledore was very
Whoa. Sorry about that.
grand. You good?
Yeah.
Did your mic turn off again?
No, 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 no. I was picking up something.
Oh, um, a like this very regal and grand, like very soft and grand, regal Dumbledore that we had that was very soft spoken and very sweet. And he matched the Dumbledore from the books,
Right.
and the actor died
Yeah.
before the third movie ever started.
Okay, I have
And
an
then
opinion on that, but okay, yes.
mm, the third movie turned very dark. Now we had this very hipsterish Dumbledore running around in very boring and plain clothing and very like uh, a dramatic, I guess is the best way to describe him. He never had the subtle softness that the original Dumbledore had. The entire atmosphere changed, it turned darker. Even the landscape for Harry Potter changed drastically.
Yeah. It was
And
more
it just
gray.
it's so much more gray. It a lot like I'm someone that likes really appreciates and really focuses on the continuity
Uh-huh.
between movies, especially big movies like this, and they wouldn't really stick with it. They would change the wands constantly, they kind of changed the
Oh,
robes a little bit, they changed the landscape for Hogwarts, they changed like we can stick with like color thing can be like excused, but it's like Hagrid's like you may not remember this, but like the big thing that could demonstrate this is Hagrid's house in the first two movies were kind of down a little bit of a slope from the castle.
okay.
And like that's fine. You could probably it's like it was a nice clean pathway, stone pathway to Hagrid's house.
Mm-hmm.
In movie 3 on, you are now having to trudge up hundreds of stairs to
Yeah,
get
yeah,
from the
okay.
castle to Hagrid's cabin. And I'm just like,
I
this
will admit
bothers
there are continuity errors. I will admit that. Um, but
me.
going back, I do have before we move on, I will disagree with you on recasting Dumbledore because I actually liked the actor for Dumbledore. But you made a good point before, which we'll get into about the whole the was it? Did you put your name in the goblet of fire? But
Yeah.
I do like Michael Gambon for Dumbledore in the later films because there are, and I know you said you haven't watched the later films. There are some scenes that I don't believe, and you know, God bless Richard Harris, rest in peace. I don't know if there would, because he was so soft, if he would to be able to pull those scenes as well as Michael Gambon did. And like everyone knew that he had big shoes to fill. And of course, he took um, Dumbledore and made it his own, which I actually really liked it because the books did go dark. It just did. It really did. That you can't keep having this whimsicality because everyone in the series and in the books they grew up. It wasn't as new, for Harry Potter because he already, I mean, of course, there's still some things that will boggle his mind, but it wasn't as new as it was and I will say in the first three books because by that point in the first three books he's Harry Potter's still learning all of, like what it is, magic is real, all of this stuff. I i think that, and we spoke about this as well when J.K. Rowling wrote the books, you made a point to say like, oh, it's because of the movies that she wrote the later books the way she did. I can see that and also no, because I don't know if she planned on making it as dark as it was, but everyone liked that it was as dark as it was. Does that make sense?
It
And
does,
and
but
with
mhm.
Professor Dumbledore, I swear I can speak. I think it's important to see that. Well, okay, we had one Professor Dumbledore that would fit, and I think he would fit well in all three movies. But in the later movies, maybe not so much because he was known as being loving and everything and kind. But when it comes to being like a darker film, I don't know. Maybe I won't ever know. That's the sad thing. We will never know what could have been. But I wouldn't say that the actor for Dumbledore was bad personally. But again, I didn't read the books. I only seen the movies. And even the movies' darker tones, I do agree. It has been grayed out and kind of like, eh, it's just been gray. That's the one way I can do it. It's like more cool colors than warm colors, kind of grayed out, sad all the time. Which, eh. But yeah. Sorry, go ahead. Those are just my thoughts on it, on the movies at least. But
You
books,
you the thing is you haven't read books 4 through 7 is my
no.
argument. So you're used to this like really harsh Dumbledore, and my argument is like, and it's like, oh, the original Dumbledore or original actor couldn't do these dark scenes. I'm like, cool, but Dumbledore isn't supposed to have these dark, harsh scenes. He's very gentle and
Mm-hmm.
delicate, even in these supposedly dark scenes, even in the books. And like we joked about earlier, the big thing, and I think this is what finally turned me off um, about it, because I really didn't get into movie 5. I watched up to movie 5, but in movie 4, The Goblet of Fire, everybody knows this. If you're a Harry Potter fan on the internet, it is everywhere. Hi, buddy. I have a
Is that your
cat, and
cat?
he's the main. Yeah, and he wants attention. Um, but any Harry Potter fan on the internet knows this joke. Is that in the Goblet of Fire, in the book, when it comes to light that Harry's name was put in the Goblet of Fire, and that the Goblet of Fire chose him as well as the other 3 champions from the other schools, or from the schools in general, Dumbledore turns to Harry and gently asks, Harry, did you put your name in the Goblet of Fire? That's it.
Yeah.
That's it in the book.
Yeah.
But in the movie,
He freaks the fuck out.
Dumbledore went into this tirade demanding to know if Harry put his name in the Goblet of Fire, like screaming in his face. And I'm like, this isn't the Dumbledore we know.
Right.
So I
And it
get where
became a
you're saying
meme. No, and okay,
why.
so that's what was so funny. If it wasn't for those book readers, for those who've read the entire series, we wouldn't have made it into the meme that it is today. Because it actually resurfaced during the whole J.K. Rowling thing.
Hmm.
That meme came back. And it still is funny to me. I think it's absolutely hilarious. Um, so yeah, I can see your point. With someone who has had read all of the books and some experience with the movies. For sure. I can see your point with that. And that meme should never die cuz yeah, that was hilarious to me. Um but I do want to get into the writer
Oh, the
because
reason why we're having this conversation today.
yeah, because as and this the reason why we started with talking about Harry Potter is because it has gotten a lot of attention with okay, I will never disrespect Harry Potter. We also had a conversation about Harry Potter being um, a cultural phenomenon. I think
Hmm.
there was a word you said. It's something that changed an entire generation.
A generational influence, or what? You being a psychology major would know this, like a key point for our generation.
Mm-hmm.
Like what? It's one of the key points, or an event that has
Has gained so much influence.
defined,
Yeah.
yes, has defined a generation.
And I will say this as well. There are others that have, of course, other media, pieces of media like Lord of the Rings or, God forbid, Twilight that has, you know, had that much influence. or had influence. However, Harry Potter was so huge that I don't think we will see something as influential as Harry Potter, to that extent. Because not only do you see Harry Potter books and movies and everything, you also see them in like parks now. People want that world to be real. Like they want to experience even a fraction of what it could possibly be. And now you can, and like Universal, because it was such a big thing. Everyone who, even people who don't even read the books or watch the movies, know what their Potter house is. It's just common knowledge for now. And I don't think anything would be as influential as Harry Potter. If it is like if there is anything else, like it would be just astounding to see, especially in this day and age.
Yes.
However, one question that I've seen a lot of people argue about on Twitter, on Facebook, like between friends and like on Tumblr and just everywhere, is because of J.K. Rowling, do we remove the author from the book? Even though it was in her mind, technically, those are her children. Those books are her children because it came from her mind, her imagination. Can you really take that away from someone just because you found out that this person is problematic? That's the question. I personally say, no, you can't. Because when she wrote those books, she was still problematic. It never changed. She didn't just up and believe these things. It was just she wrote this problematically. Now, Abby says maybe because in her books, she actually, when we're talking about J.K. Rowling being a transphobe, and
Transphobe.
she's a transphobe. And don't worry, guys, we are allies, both me and Abby. This is a safe space. We will never talk badly about anyone in the LGBT community because we support you very much, which is why we hate J.K. Rowling. Or not hate. Hate is a strong word, but we really, really, really don't like her.
Well, we've discussed this with like PewDiePie and another streamer.
Don't even.
That
Don't
I know I'm not. We're not
It
opening.
hurts.
Nope.
The wound
But
is still
another.
real.
Don't. It's okay. It's okay. Breathe.
I know. No, it's okay.
But,
I'm focusing on J.K. Rowling.
but as like an avid fan, like a deep fan who genuinely appreciated J.K. Rowling's work, like appreciated PewDiePie's work, appreciated this other streamer's work, I am severely disappointed in her, like I have been with the others. That it's just like, why?
Right.
You are in a position of extreme privilege. She was poor when she started writing Harry Potter. She would have to write Harry Potter in a bar with her child asleep on her lap
I will
when
never.
she first started out. And I'm like, how can you look down on other people?
Okay, I will say this. I will never like I'm always up for writers or just people in general who have a good like comeback story because her story is rough. You know what I mean?
Mm.
Like she went through so much, and I'm very proud of the person that she was. However, I do agree with you. Why is she acting like that? Looking down upon others who they're going through the same, well, not the same kind of suffering, but they are going through suffering. And I think it hurt more because at the time, everyone thought they were safe. Everyone was praising her for being LGB, supportive. And yet,
Allegedly.
allegedly. And yet, she wouldn't even support trans people. And it's like it does to me. It doesn't make sense. Like if you want to support the actual LGBTQA community, you need to actually show your support for those people. Because I mean, I hate to say it, but when she was like, "Oh well, Dumbledore's gay, and he probably has a relationship with Grindelwald, whatever guy,"
Grindelwald.
I was just like, "Come on, not sighing on the gay community or anything. That's not what I meant. It's the fact that she's just creating these things from the ashes and trying to rewrite a lot of the things that weren't in the books or in the movies or anything, correct?"
Yeah, it's we are, because in the books we are focusing on Harry. Harry's our protagonist, so we
Mm-hmm.
follow him through the books. We don't get a lot of, like, we get interactions between Harry and Dumbledore, but we don't really get as like a mentor and a student, an elder and a junior and everything like that.
Mm-hmm.
We don't actually get a lot of Dumbledore's background in the original seven Harry Potter books.
Which to me
But the
is
fact
like,
that
go ahead.
the fact that she just like, oh yeah, he's gay, and doesn't provide a short story for
That's
it,
what I'm
or doesn't
saying.
provide an entire story for Dumbledore's backstory or history or anything like that. She's just like, oh, he's gay. I'm like,
That's what I'm
he's a
saying. If
white
you want to,
male. You can do anything with that character and just say that it's a thing.
my thing is this: it irked me that she could have just written an actual like gay relationship or lesbian relationship or just same sex relationship in her books, but she chose not to. Instead, she rather just do it on Twitter, which, you know, she can say, oh, well, it's really canon, but there is no proof that it is canon. So, any other past generation who haven't seen the tweet or anything would have just assumed, no, he's just a straight male or just a male, just chilling.
At the very least, asexual.
Yeah, asexual.
But
And I'm
then
just like,
again,
I'm just like, come on, seriously? Seriously. But I would, because like, as much as I do love the world that she's built, I can't remove her from those books because she was still problematic when she wrote them. And I made this comparison before as well. Another show that is gaining a lot of attention is H.P. Lovecraft or Lovecraft's Country or whatever, about H.P. Lovecraft, right? Everyone and their mothers knew that he was racist. When I heard about H.P. Lovecraft, because I actually do like I said, the sci-fi horror fantasy genre, I was very interested in H.P. Lovecraft. My parents, or my mother at least, was like, oh yeah, and we know who he is. They didn't realize he was fucking racist. And a lot of his books or stories that he wrote were against the black community. He was very racist. It doesn't mean that his world and his creatures and everything that he's seen like it still isn't like influential, because it was. However, when he still wrote those books, he was still problematic when he wrote them. And you should, even when you read those books, you should never take away that fact that he was a fucking racist. You can't just separate the author from their creation, because as they were creating it, they were, we'll just go with problematic because that's the only one that I can think. They were just problematic in today's society. So same with J.K. Rowling, at least in my personal opinion. You can love them, you can love the books and the stories, but you should never forget that the writer who wrote that is currently, because she I think she's still going, is problematic. And the reason why I bring this up is because she wrote a book that showcases her transphobia. Or, yeah. Did I say that right? Yeah.
Phobia, transphobic, and she is
Transphobia.
transphobic.
Yeah. This is coming from me. What about you?
You say that you can't take the author away, and I would like to disagree. We should not forget who the author is and why someone would like an entire community would take it away from her and just
Mm-hmm.
say that she's dead to them.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that the millennial generation and the Zoomers would be the generation so far that would do it of anyone else. And you bring up Lovecraft Country and H.P. Lovecraft, like the Call
Oh,
of
Lovecraft Country.
Cthulhu and the Cthulhu stories and the Eldritch
Right.
stories. That yes, H.P. Lovecraft is a racist. I didn't know he's a racist until a couple of years ago, honestly.
Mm-hmm.
But I have yet to read any of his books,
Mm-hmm.
or stories.
I will say they are a very hard read. Oh my gosh, they're so hard. And like,
They're
anyway,
slow.
sorry. Yeah.
um,
Yeah.
but that's what makes it a good horror is the slow burn horror.
Mm-hmm.
But again, beside that,
Yeah, sorry. Yeah. Aside from that.
and so it should be common knowledge that it should be more common knowledge that H.P. Lovecraft is a racist and that his stories are extremely racist. But I think, and this is someone from the Generation X generation, that we have started to take it away from him because Lovecraft Country is, I think, written and is produced by Jordan Peele,
Yep.
a black actor, comedian, producer, writer, director, and I haven't seen it yet. I'd love to see it. I
Oh,
haven't seen it yet, but my understanding is he's turned that racism upside down. He has thrown it almost back. My understanding again is he has thrown this racism back into Lovecraft's face. And
yes.
so I would say he has taken this work from H.P. Lovecraft. And I think that, yes, you can absolutely take a work away from the author.
Yes
I,
and no.
I,
We're
I
gonna.
don't know how anyone could do it with Harry Potter,
Yeah, that's bad.
but it's doable, and we've seen it.
Yes and no, because as much as you say, well, he took the works of H.P. Lovecraft, he can never take the works of H.P. Lovecraft. Those were not his creations. He did not create those. However, he was inspired to create his own story. That to me is different. For example, when all this blew up about J.K. Rowling, people were upset, obviously, and sad and everything. Then there were people who tried to help support the LGBT community by promoting fantasy with like witches and wizards with like what was it LGBT protagonist or like who have LGBT stories in them. That's not necessarily taking away from her work, but because of this, you find people who are inspired by her work and took it and made it something that is their own. But in the basis of everything, you cannot, again, this is just me, take away the work from the original author. But you can be inspired to do better, which is what I loved about Jordan Peele's Lovecraft Country, because he interpreted the monsters in his own way. He interpreted the whole story and the racism and everything. He took it and made it his own. But it wasn't his to begin with. He was inspired by that. And in the first few episodes, you can see that when I think his name is Atticus, I think his name is Atticus, maybe they
I
call him Tick.
again, I haven't seen it
Right,
yet.
right, 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 right.
But that sounds like it could be right.
Yeah, they call him Tick, the character in the show. Um, and I've seen the first few minutes because it's free. You can watch it for free, I think, on YouTube. It's intense, let me just say, because I get scared with horror movies and I couldn't watch it by myself, so I didn't finish it because I was scared. But you see this guy, Atticus, who is an avid reader and he read the stories and stuff like that. And he even speaks to, I believe, is it his father, his grandfather, or uncle or something? I can't remember. About how much he enjoyed H.P. Lovecraft's work, but is constantly reminded by his father that he had to understand that he was a racist, which was interesting because, and I think that's what like Jordan Peele said, you can enjoy someone's work, but you can never, ever, ever say that the writer of these works were unproblematic because that's not true. Um, and I love that. I love that they did that. And to be honest, when that came out and this whole thing with J.K. Rowling came out, they're kind of in sync with that. I mean, you know what I mean? Because you can read the books, you can fall in love with it, you can be inspired by it, but you cannot forget that the writer of those books is problematic. You can, for example, when you, Abby, read those books, you had a certain emotion. You were like, you were inspired, your brain was open up to this world that she created, right? You had your own view of what the characters looked like and all of this stuff. No one's going to
Based
take
off her descriptions.
right. No one's going to take that away from you. The magic that you felt and like how giddy you were and like, viewing in your mind, in your own imagination, this story open up for you. No one can take that away, including J.K. Rowling. She can't ever take that feeling away from you. It is what it is. And for many fans, that's what it is. And they're doing these things to protect that feeling. And I don't think that's ever going to change. You know what I mean? Well, now in her later stories, it might change. But that feeling that you got won't ever change. And she can't take that away from you. Um, and I don't think
And
anyone. Go ahead.
well, I was gonna say, it's like I think people are wanting to take the Harry Potter universe away from her so that she doesn't continue to do harm to the universe and to these characters by being a toxic. And in
From what I've
reality, the
seen,
books don't really have a lot of homophobia or transphobia or
that's what I'm
anything like
saying.
that. It's just in reality they're not inclusive. It's
No.
what they are. But with how toxic she is, she's becoming more and more vocal about stuff. And it seems like people don't want to let her
Ruin this.
pollute, yes, pollute the Harry Potter universe
Okay.
with who she is.
That is a good point. However, I don't know if she will because of how much money it has made her. Because by this point, I don't think it's anymore about the world that she's built, more about the money. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Because I do think she needs to be humbled a little bit. I get that again. I get that she
Mm-hmm.
went through a lot and everything,
Mm-hmm.
but I do think she needs to remember, you know, what it took, like her imagination, not necessarily greed, because greed is not what got her there, you know. And I think that's the thing. Like, I think she's just a little greedy. Um, with this new book, let me see if I can find the title of this book. Hold on.
And it's weird because I believe I remember reading something some years ago that she's the only billionaire to to unbecome a billionaire. So
Mm-hmm.
she, from her books and from the movies and everything, she ended up becoming a billionaire. But allegedly, this could be the wrong person, but allegedly she had donated so much money to charities and stuff that she lost her billionaire title.
Mm-hmm. Which, I mean, I think that's great.
Right, but it's like, how how can you do that?
Right. Nothing is necessarily black and white. You know, you could still do good works in one thing and also be a transphobe. You know what I mean?
Really.
Neglect an entire, what was it? I don't know what to technically, j- just to be hateful still. You know, you can still donate to charities and still be hateful. Does that make sense? Like,
I mean,
people aren't black and
yes,
white.
but no.
Well, it's like people aren't black and white. There are so many gray areas. And you can say, oh, she's a billionaire. She donated to these charities. That's a good thing. However, it doesn't erase the fact that, you know, she is hateful towards a group. You know what I mean? Sorry. My brain is I'm reading this article here and my brain is trying to
Mhm.
formulate words. So, this book, what got everyone in an uproar, why everyone was like posting good things, and this is what got me on this topic. When J.K. Rowling announced a new book and what it was about, everyone in the Harry Potter community went to protect Harry Potter the world of Harry Potter, because the book is called Troubled Blood, and it is a crime book where the killer dresses up like a woman to get his victims and kill them, which sparked a lot of backlash from the trans community, which honestly they have every right to, because
Right.
everything that she has said about trans people, she never, and I'm actually very happy about this. She never actually took a transphobic character and put it into the world of Harry Potter. I don't think she can touch it because that's the one thing that's made her so much money.
Well, Ron is racist. It's not really brought up, but Ron is racist.
I take that back then. Fuck that guy. I'm just kidding. Um,
Well, it's a cultural thing. He doesn't
mhm.
know any better because he's grown up in the wizarding world. The wizards look down on goblins and elves and dwarves
Oh,
and stuff like
yes.
that. He
Yes.
doesn't know better until Hermione just like lays into him about it. It's just like, what the, you why? This is
Yeah.
why, like, it's like house elves. House elves are supposed to be serving us in like really awful conditions with no monies. They're basically slaves and treated
That's
horribly and
true.
physically abused. And Hermione's
Mhm.
like, no. She has started an entire movement at like, uh, we get house elves in book 2, and like she, she, uh, our husbands have just walked in, so
Okay.
they're a little bit distracting. Um,
Tell my babe I
so
said hi.
babe says hi. He's like hi. So sweet, so quiet.
Sorry, sorry.
Um, ADD away. Um,
You're right. You're right.
we wrong. Um, so what? Oh, house elves showing up in
Yes.
season or in book 2, and Hermione's just like freaking out about it. It's just like, why? Why are there slaves? Why is he in awful conditions? And it is throughout the rest of the books that she fights for non-wizard beings
Hmm.
constantly. And I'm like,
We can just admit
because
that Hermione is a badass, right?
I mean, Hermione, Emma Watson, them girls
Oh,
are,
I love them. I love them. Oh my god, I love
it,
them so much.
it is one of those things that it's like, it, we don't know this is bad, because Ron grew up in this world, it's like, okay, this is how we're supposed to act. But when Hermione, who is a Muggle-born person
Mm-hmm.
who grew up in the Muggle world, comes to the Wizarding world, she's like, no, none of this is okay. None of
Right.
this is all right. And she
The
calls Ron out on it constantly because he doesn't know any better.
the difference between that, I think, is the fact that you see a character change. Like you see them change. And that's why we
Mm-hmm.
don't shit on Ron, because Ron changed, or like is in the process of changing.
Right.
You I don't want to condemn someone who's learning, or trying to
Right.
understand or trying to change. That is different from J.K. Rowling, who chooses to just stay in that mentality, you know? That's the difference. But Ron, okay, I'll take back what I said, because if he's a changed man, it just shows character growth.
It's one of
And
those things. He's still a child. It's like
mm-hmm,
it may slip our minds. It's like Ron in these books is still a child. He wasn't corrected until Hermione came along and saw that there were things wrong. And
right.
the only way you're gonna change is to be told that, and that's a painful process,
It
is
is
to
a
be
painful
told that you're
process.
wrong.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a growing process for him throughout all of the books. All of them.
But I mean, I'm glad to see that that's the thing. Again, I never really saw that. I read or watched the movies. Um,
Um,
so I missed out on good character growth.
you want to borrow them? I'll let you borrow them.
No, my husband has all of them. They're on my bookshelf behind me, all of them, including the play, like The Cursed Child,
Uh,
and the book. What
uh,
was it?
the only Harry Potter
The
play I
Tales.
accept is like the college
Oh, and Fantastic
parody.
Beasts
That
and Where to Find Them. I have that too.
oh yeah,
Yeah, like my husband has the entire series and then some.
I remember growing up that there was an extra little like extended universe kind of book where it was Quidditch Through the Ages was one of them.
Mm-hmm.
It was the actual book, and then I think it was Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them.
Mm-hmm. Which
Uh,
my thing is this: because Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them is still open. If she puts in her like a character who is transphobic and makes it okay, that to me is when shit will go down. Because inputting someone who wasn't like a book character from a book into a movie franchise like that to me would, I can see why that would piss a lot of people off, and why everyone is scared that she would
from a
ruin. I'm sorry, what you were
well,
saying?
I would. I think the only time a character like that is accepted within writing is if he, like Ron,
Grew up.
is is taught to change and
Good.
taught why what he says or does to about or to trans people, why it's bad.
Okay.
I think that's the only time it is accepted, but I agree with you. I If she just throws in a transphobic person for no reason other than just to have a voice of transphobia,
In her
then
works,
shit's gonna hit the
yes.
fan.
Oh yeah. Can you imagine? Like, can you imagine? People would be pissed.
Yeah, absolutely.
But we can't do anything about it. Those are not our works. But I will say, because of her, or in spite of her, a lot of people are going to create some wonderful stories based off this
And they have.
experience. Oh yeah, and they have.
Because
Like
I don't know if you've seen this. There is a parody of the Harry Potter books and movies in a two-part play
Harry Potter
done
musical.
by, yes.
Yes, of
And it
course
is
I have. It was a fucking, oh my
glorious.
god. Are you
It is
kidding me?
glorious.
Everyone,
I need to go
okay,
back and
listen.
watch it.
It was a memeable thing before memes were a thing.
Oh, absolutely.
Oh my
It
gosh.
was the
That's the
essence
whole like,
of
how
internet
dare
culture.
you? Yes. Yes. And it's wonderful. But yeah, for those who haven't seen it, it is called the Harry Potter musical. Y'all should check it out. Also, there's characters from
Absolutely.
Glee that are in there, so
Are,
heads up.
are there?
Yes, they're oh gosh, he's a good actor now. He wait, hold
Wait,
on.
was he the centaur?
No, 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 no. He wasn't an actor for. He was Darren. Hold on, Darren. Chris. Darren Chris. Okay, I just wanted to make sure I said it right. Darren Chris was Harry Potter.
Hmm.
Yeah. He ended up being in Glee, and he's now a star of a movie called Hollywood. It was like a really big Netflix movie that everyone was talking about. He's a really good actor, and he started from humble beginnings, like the Harry Potter musical, and he grew. It's so funny to see that.
Oh,
Yeah. So
it
everyone
was.
who go ahead.
Oh. I'm just like I'm remembering it, and all I can remember is Draco just being a
I
whiny little
love
bitch
it.
and rolling across the stage and
Yes.
loving it.
Ah, good. That's some good shit. That's some good shit. So if she decides to ruin this entire franchise, you know there's going to be some people who are just like that who are just going to take it and create something astounding from it. And it's going to be wonderful. But yeah, um those are my thoughts on her. I I think a lot of people do hope this as well. We all hope that she would change. We want her to be better. We want her to actually like shut up and listen to people who are trans. Open up her mind a little bit.
And the only reason there's such a big backlash to her being so transphobic is because her fans care.
Oh, very much.
If they didn't care, they wouldn't say anything.
Mm-hmm.
And the trans community would speak up because it's against them, but this is like all of her fans
Mm-hmm.
speaking up against her because we care.
That's true. That's absolutely true.
We and like if we didn't care, we wouldn't say anything.
I agree. I think the reason why this blew up so much is because we care. There are so many people here who are fighting against her for it. And that shows guts. Especially you being a good fan of a Harry Potter in the world of Harry Potter. I don't know.
I
What do
know
you
what
think the
we
outcome was going to be? Like,
I was
what do
about
you
to say
think?
before we get too dark and deep, we
It's
never introduced like
sad.
what houses we were. I'm a Slytherin.
Oh, right. We should have started the fucking thing. Oh my gosh. I'm a Hufflepuff. I huff and I puff, apparently.
On your vape, yes.
Yeah, no, I don't. I haven't
And then
done it because
hack
I
it
got
up.
sick. I've gotten sick, so I haven't vaped in the past
You
like
do huff
three
and puff.
weeks. I do huff and puff, but I'm not in the past 3 weeks because I'm sick, baby. But yeah, I'm a Hufflepuff. And then okay, I'm gonna go back a little bit. Do you remember the American houses when she was like, "Oh, we need American houses"? Do you remember that?
It's Livermore. Yes, I do, and I remember a lot of people being really upset. It's just like,
Mm-hmm.
why? Like this is like these are like really really shitty, because it's like it's
Yeah.
a Thunderbird,
Mm-hmm.
um,
A wampus. I'm a
a
wampus.
womp. I don't remember what I am. I
Hold on. I'm gonna look this Hogwarts American
could
houses.
just search Evermorty House.
Ilvermorny? Yeah. Ilvermorny, oh wait, no. Ilvermorny is the school.
A Wampus, a Thunderbird,
A
a
Puckwudgie?
Puckwudgie, and a Horned Serpent.
Yeah. I was a wampus. I was the
I could
captain.
I don't remember if I was a horned serpent or a thunderbird.
I think, because I did the thing twice.
Yeah.
Um, I was at first a Puckwudgie. And then I was also, and then I took it again and I was a Wampus. And then I took it again and I was a Wampus. So I was like, all right, we'll do that. I remembered a lot of people were upset because they didn't really incorporate a lot of Native American stuff.
Yeah.
They only
Yeah.
incorporated the European colonization, you know, of when they came to America, and then they took the magic with them. Which, I'm, could you imagine if they did like one for like voodoo and all that? Oh, that'd have been interesting.
Well,
But no, because America, we're a
right.
cesspool. We are a
Yeah.
cesspool of all different kinds of cultures, not only just European.
I think I was about to say I think the politically correct term is supposed to be melting pot, but cesspool works for 2020.
Melting pot. And
Oh,
I
am I
know for
wrong?
no, you're not. Like, and I remembered like you have like the African American blacks in the use of voodoo and hoodoo and all that. Then you have Latinos and their brujas, because that's what we call them, brujas. And then you have, I'm pretty sure the Native Americans have their, I don't want to say
Each
medicine men, but they have like their shamans and stuff.
spiritual leaders,
Spiritual
each
leaders, yes.
I guess is the most neutral term a white person or a non-Native American person could accurately use. And not only that, but each tribe has different, like a lot of them are very similar. Each of the Native Americans, in America and in Canada, all are familiar with a creature called it's my mind, a Wendigo, and a
Yes.
variation of a Wendigo.
Mm-hmm. A
But
Wendigo.
and that's a continental thing, a northern continental thing.
Mm-hmm.
But then each one has their own different kind of beliefs and their rituals and their rites and everything like that. So there would be different quote unquote magic within the Harry Potter universe, unique to each tribe.
That's
And I
true.
agree with you that I I agree. Evermorty was is very vanilla
It's
compared to
so
what
vanilla. And you know what
what
sucks? Like you get a hint of that. You get a hint of that in Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them. But like goodness, like if you were in America, you kind of want that kind of diversity, especially if you're trying to create a school in America. You're going to
I
have to be diverse.
I think the biggest problem was is that we had a non-American try and make an American thing.
That is also true. That I can agree with.
Because she's not an American,
No,
and
she's not.
she's never lived in America for any extended amount of time. She's always been in England.
Right.
So she's not gonna know. And I remember one of the biggest things that a lot of people were complaining about is, yes, Ilvermorny is very vanilla, but when you go into the house descriptions, it's very two-dimensional.
Mm-hmm.
Like the Hogwarts houses are very in-depth, very
Yeah.
three-dimensional. It's like you have like everybody can have a combination between the houses of what they are, but it's very in-depth.
Yeah, because they okay. So you have the horned serpent, which it represents the mind. You have Wampus, which represents the body. You have the Puckwudgie, which represents the heart, and then you have the Thunderbird, which represents the soul. I'm like, okay, great, but I
Mm,
agree. The other one was more in depth of what those houses
yes.
are, and you can tell that the Ilvermorny houses are so, like you said, two dimensional because there wasn't really a story you could create with that. You didn't flesh it out like you did it, like you being J.K. Rowling. Sorry, like she did in the Harry Potter series. So throwing out, oh yeah, there was an American school and these are the American houses. Of course, no one's going to take into that because they haven't grown up with all the other houses. You know what I mean? Because you've had different characters in all these different houses, and from those characters you can see those traits.
It,
And
it would have it probably she should have really like worked with an American on creating or expanding Ilverboring
Yeah,
and made it
but
really interesting.
it would what would be interesting is if she created another, I guess, what do you call it? There's a term and I can't think of it and it's top of my head. A spin-off, that's the word,
Mm,
of the books with the American houses. But I don't think she should be the one to do it. Like you said, I think she should
yeah.
work with an American or understand that. Or have someone else, get inspired by her and create their own world of something like that. Without stepping on her toes, because of course she's the one who created it. But you know what I mean? Like if
I mean, step on her toes at this point.
I feel like she'd be the one to sue. Don't sue me. But yeah, heck if I know. She's in so much hot water right now. Like I can't even. And I don't know. I genuinely don't
Well,
know because this is the final question. I don't know what the future will hold for Harry Potter because she's in such hot water. And every time, and it's only on Twitter, every time she tweets, everyone is like gripping their keyboards. You know what I mean? Like,
I don't know what's going to happen with the future either, because if we look at the Cursed Child, that's fan written. It's
oh, okay, I
She
didn't know
didn't
that.
write that. She approved that it's canon, but she did not write that.
Hmm.
So I guess that's another thing where it's someone slowly taking that away from her.
Mm-hmm.
But then again, it's something positive for her, so of course she's going to approve it. If anyone steps on her toes, then yeah, I'm sure she would sue.
Yeah.
Because I remember, because you didn't grow up reading it. I do remember hearing when after Harry Potter 3, book 3 came out, and book 4 was projected to come out in a year or two, or something like
Right.
that. I remember hearing um a lot of people in Japan were getting in trouble for writing the fourth book and publishing it.
What? No way.
Yep.
Wow.
So it wasn't like that they stole her outlines or anything like that and was like illegally leaking it. No, they were writing their own story and publishing it.
That's insane. Yeah, no, that yeah. I can see why she would be pissed. Oh man. I don't know if anyone thought she would be as successful as she is right now.
I think people started to realize how successful she was going to be after the first, or really on premiere night of the second movie,
Hmm. Oh, true, 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 true.
because it's kind of a telltale, because it's like I remember it being like a big party thing. We had read the books and all that
Hmm.
stuff, so we were really excited. And I remember like a lot of people being there, and then there, like, obviously we had all read the books. All of us there had read the
Right.
books.
Mm-hmm.
I think at that moment realizing that movie was a success on premiere night
Mm-hmm.
was just gonna was just gonna perpetuate to the other movies.
I will say, I can definitely, yeah, because it was a genius idea to do. And, back then, books to movies, we were all kind of skeptical and stuff. But she did it very well. But I also know she was at the forefront trying to make, like, the director kind of give her approval of some scenes and how it should look and everything. So I think that's also why it worked. The movies worked so well was because she was there, kind of helping to set up the world as best as she could. You know what I mean?
and that it did. Um, she told Alan Rickman, who played Professor Snape, um,
Bless that man as well. Rest in peace. I loved him.
he was so good. He would blatantly argue and fight and refuse to do certain things in filming Professor Snape because he would tell the director, it's like, no, I can't do this choice because that's not what Snape would do, because J.K. Rowling only told him. She wouldn't tell the director or anybody else for fear of
Mm.
it being leaked. So Alan had to make those put his foot down on some of the choices
And he was
when it
phenomenal.
came to so good.
Such a phenomenal
He
man.
I could never pick anyone else to ever be Professor Snape.
I agree. I agree. I don't think you can see anyone else as Professor Snape. He did so well. And Alan Rickman is just so good.
Mm.
Anyway, we have to actually wrap it up soon. Um, do you have any final words? Anything about the Harry Potter series? What you're looking forward to? Or anything?
I'm I'm not, because I'm not really like sure. It's the Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them and the Crimes of Grindelwald. And they're all right. They're interesting action kind of films, but they're not that interesting.
No,
They're
they're
kind of
not.
boring. And
Yeah,
there's nothing real like whimsical or magical. Spoiler, have you seen the two movies
I
yet?
did. I have. I
Okay.
watched it with a friend of mine. And like I like it as a movie. I literally had to take my brain off of saying, okay, this is a Harry Potter movie because then I could enjoy it more, if that makes sense. Except Dumbledore,
Like
because what's his name?
Jude Law. I
Yes,
like Jude Law.
I do love
He's
Jude
an
Law.
asshole, but I like him.
Um, he keeps reminding me that he is in fact Dumbledore. uh,
Yeah.
yeah.
Because it's like Dumbledore isn't really like a suit kind of person. He's
Uh huh.
supposed to wear robes,
Robes.
and he's not, and it bothers them. There
Yeah.
there are choices that bother me constantly. But we won't get into that because we are trying to wrap up. But I think it's kind of cool because there's like a big fire dragon that they use magic to procure and control at the end of the Crimes of Grindelwald. Like, that's cool.
Yeah.
That's kind of all it is, but I mean, it's cool. I'm I think it would have done better if it had an established book, because I think it's supposed to be 3 or 5 movies long. I still think we're supposed to get a couple more
No
movies
way.
out of
I thought
this.
it was
Yeah,
3.
at least 3 movies.
No
Um,
way.
so I think it's supposed to be a trilogy or a saga. At the very least. And I don't think they did a full outline before they started these
Oh,
movies.
heck no.
I think they should have like probably written a book first. But I'm a book person, so I'm like, book?
Yeah.
Book?
Because this is
What's
strictly
what?
just film. This is just film.
Yeah. And it's Newt Scamander. We're following Newt Scamander, who was just like a side character. Not even a side character. He's just the author of a book that Harry had to read in like year
Mm-hmm.
1 or 2.
Yep.
And it's mentioned that, and it's like this isn't doesn't really give us a full like detail on who Newt Scamander is,
Right.
but then it's like suddenly we're getting a multi-movie series about this character. Now, who is his name? Eddie Redmayne? I love him. He's adorable.
Oh, yeah.
He
Yeah, yeah,
plays
yeah, yeah,
Newt
yeah.
Scamander. Oh my god, yes. Ooh, girl, I am like thoroughly pissed that I'm not. I am and I'm not. So Johnny Depp is Grindelwald. I
Yes.
love Johnny Depp. I
I do
think
love
that's a
Johnny
good
Depp.
choice. But then,
What?
Grindelwald was in disguise in Fantastic
Oh, yes, he was.
And I love that actor who the disguise was. I
Yes.
love that actor. I would have loved to have seen him as Grindelwald. But no, he was disguised, and that makes me sad because I genuinely like that actor a lot, and he does not get enough screen time, ever.
No, he doesn't. Is that you're
Oh.
right. You're absolutely right. Wow.
But like
I
again,
agree. It was a shock.
and it's like I'm not mad with the choice that Grindelwald was in disguise like that, if
Mm-hmm.
that makes sense.
Oh no, no,
But
no.
I'm
It was
like,
wonderful.
I am mad that I guess it's just who the actor was. I'm like, no, I want this actor, but I also like Johnny Depp for this as well. And now I'm very conflicted, and I'm just mad.
You have every right to be salty. It was a shock.
But
No one was
yes,
expecting it.
and it's like it's one of the things that like that was a bold choice, and I really really like that. But I'm also mad because I really like this actor. I want more of this actor, but it's
Mm-hmm.
Johnny Depp, and Johnny Depp needs a break because that's
No,
another
no, that's
story.
another one.
Mm.
That boy does
And
need a
Johnny
break.
Depp
Poor
needs a
boy.
break, and I'm like, I'm okay, I'm fine, it's all right.
I am excited to see because I thought it was possibly only a trilogy. I'm excited to see how they're going to wrap this up. But you might be right. It could be a saga, depending. And it
And
just doesn't.
I think a big factor on if it's going to be a trilogy or a saga depends on the fans on and if they're going to continue to put up with J.K. Rowling, because with the millennial and the Zoomer just mindset, it's like, well, if we don't like it, we're not going to support it. That's
Mm-hmm.
it.
Yeah.
It's like if she continues to piss off the wrong
That's
generation, she's gonna flop.
that's the thing. That's what I'm worried about. Cause like, yeah, what's gonna happen? What's gonna happen? Did she did she fall so far down this that she ruined um Fantastic Beasts? Or are there still fans willing to give her a chance to try? Because as much as it's very different from the Harry Potter, world, people would still like to at least get a piece of that feeling that they had with Harry Potter in Fantastic Beasts. And I can guarantee you, like compared to the movies, I don't feel it. It seems like a completely different movie. Um, I do agree with you. I think she should have wrote a book. That way, she'd
Hmm.
have some kind of guideline as to what to do with this, because it just doesn't. Eh, you know.
Even if it's like she writes the book and then chooses to make different decisions in the movie, at least she has like, okay, I have a firm guideline now, and if I choose different from this guideline, at least it's going to be a consistent choice change for
Right.
the rest of the movies.
That's true. That's true. That's true.
Mm.
That's true. That's true. It's going to be interesting to see how this is going to play out. And gosh, I'm just going to say it. I'm the kind of person, just get rid of Twitter for her. Because, like, I feel like she's just heavily influenced by social media.
Question here, like it's kind of Harry Potter related, but not at all. Who do you think should have their Twitter like taken away first, Trump or J.K. Rowling?
Trump.
Fair.
Not to say that J.K. Rowling is whatever, but it's
Any less,
yeah,
but
no, but like the reason why it's so different is because one is the leader of our nation, and the other is just a writer. Just take it away from the leader of our nation because it's just terrible. And could you imagine just having some peace without that? Sorry, we're getting a little political here. Might be. We could do that another day. That's on my.
no,
But
we're gonna need to notate the 3 different topics we had gone over. That is just like, hang on, that's another topic.
yeah, there's so many. But we might be a little bit early next week. Um, on Saturday, we're gonna try and change the schedule up a little bit just for Saturday. We're gonna probably
Yeah.
start at an earlier time. My thing is, if I can get some good sleep, I will definitely make it that Saturday. It all depends.
Okay, uh, mm, that's fair. But I thought you had plans next week that you and your
Oh,
husband
that's
had to
right. I completely forgot about him. Oh my gosh, and it's very important. I will not be here next
girl
week. I will
write that
I
down.
I know it's a wedding. I'm going to a wedding and I forgot that I was going to a wedding. Oh
Racy.
no. I know. Okay, so I won't be here next week. We will try and plan maybe some other day if not. I don't know why, but yeah, we're going to a wedding. Um, and oh, another important thing, our Twitter
Yes.
is open.
Yeah.
We now have a Twitter. It is What's Your Pin 10. If you want to check it out, we just posted our first tweet, which is just telling us that we're live. So yeah, if there's any news or if we just kind of shoot the shit, just find us
Yeah.
on Twitter. We'll definitely put it in our bio and our channel link over here on Twitch. But go ahead and check us out and follow us there. Is there anything else you wanted to say, Abby, before I end?
As always, Ricey has a gaming stream at Ebel of Ricey, and
Oh
she
yeah,
has
that's
a cosplay page at Kissies.
right. Bessels, kissies. I love it.
That what you told me. That's what you told me it meant.
Yes, it is
Kissies.
Bessels. It's Bessels cosplay. And what about you? You
Um,
need to plug yourself too.
what? I have a Twitter where I bitch on,
There you
and I
go.
have a Facebook,
There you go.
and
Where
that's.
can they find you? If you want them to find you.
I also have an Instagram, and all of it's abmikirii, ABMIKIRII, under all of those. Again, I'm not gonna hide. I bitch on Twitter, so you better be prepared if you're gonna follow me on Twitter for
That's
me to
true.
bitch.
That's absolutely true. I love it.
Uh,
We're gonna bitch some more. We're gonna start to using our Twitter a little bit more. We just created it today, and we're not
yeah.
we're not really much. Well, for me, I'm a lurker. I don't tweet much, but I'll start tweeting more, and we'll talk about all the different topics and everything, and get that ball rolling. But yeah, thank you guys so much for joining us today. It was a interesting topic. I hope we didn't step on too many toes because this is a very beloved character, worlds, everything. Um, but yeah, it was a very good topic, and I could go on and on and on, but we had to cut it short because Harry Potter is too
That's a
broad.
lot.
Yeah, very broad. But yeah, thank you guys so much for coming, and we will see you not next week, but maybe the following week. Who knows? Check our Twitter. Anything else you
Yeah.
want to say? Bye.
Bye.
Bye, everybody.